A lot of people want to know what foods should you be focused on to burn the most fat or to lose the most weight. So instead of getting into the details of a diet, I wanted to just focus in on the foods and the key foods that have the least effect on insulin, okay? Because insulin is a hormone that, even in tiny amounts, will block your ability to lose weight. Insulin is the hormone that converts the carbs that you eat into actual fat. So it is the fat making hormone. And so if we compile the list of all the foods that have the least effect on insulin, you can have the best list to help you lose the most weight. Now, the only thing I want to bring up with this list is quantity of protein. If you're doing high levels of protein, that can potentially slow you down because that can then stimulate insulin. But if you're having a moderate amount of protein on this plan, you're going to do quite well. In fact, if you keep your protein around 7 grams, maybe 8 grams per meal, you're going to be doing very, very well. And of course, if you really want to be successful, you really only want to do 2 meals per day or even 1 meal a day. All right, let's start with the proteins. Okay, so we have all these proteins have less than 1 gram or 0 grams of carbohydrates. Okay, so eggs, beef, lamb, chicken, pork, veal, duck, hot dog, sausage, deli meat, organ meats, dried meats, and pork rinds, which is a collagen. But also realize that you have to read the ingredients because some of these foods, like even deli meats, sausage, hot dogs, can have hidden sugars like dextrose, even high fructose corn syrup, and even the dried meats can have like beet sugar. So you want to avoid meats with sugar. All right, so that's the protein list. And of course, tea, coffee, and water have no carbohydrates, so you don't have to worry about that. And then you have apple cider vinegar, okay, 0 carbohydrates. Seasonings, mustard, great thing to put on your meat, no carbs, or less than even a half a gram of carb. And then we have monk fruit, stevia, and erythritol, all have 0 carbohydrates. Lemon, lime, very, very small amount of carbs. It's less than 1, which is insignificant. Now, there are 2 other things that I want to talk about in relationship to insulin, okay? Pure fat has no effect on insulin. Now, if something is combined with a carb, it's going to have more of an effect on insulin. But if you have a pure fat, it's going to have no effect on insulin. So butter, ghee, tallow, lard, coconut oil, olive oil, MCT oil, whole cream, all are pretty much pure fats. So those are not going to have an effect on your insulin despite having a lot of calories. And so these fats will turn into energy. Now, of course, there's always a limitation of matter. If you consume an ungodly amount of this, potentially it can turn into fat for sure. But if at the same time you're not consuming any carbohydrates and you're doing a high fat diet, that fat is going to turn into energy. And that is because you primed the pump. You converted your body over into ketosis. So now it's no longer running on glucose. So when you feed it fat, it turns that into ketones. If you still had carbohydrates with fat, you wouldn't have this conversion and you wouldn't be able to burn that fat too effectively. In fact, a lot of that fat will be stored as fat. I want to mention one thing about this because sometimes you'll see in certain studies, it'll say, a mice study showed that mice consuming a high fat diet caused increased weight gain. It caused diabetes, insulin resistance. And then you actually read the study for yourself and you find out the high fat diet that these mice were on were not just a high fat diet. Notice they did not mention ketogenic diet. Notice they didn't mention a low carb diet. They just mentioned a high fat diet. And these high fat diets that they feed mice are also a high carbohydrate diet. The carbohydrates that they put in this high fat diet are roughly about 36% carbohydrates. So it's a high carb, high fat diet. So that right there invalidates the whole study. All right, mayonnaise. Now, obviously it doesn't have any carbs, but a lot of times it has soy oil or canola oil or cottonseed oil. You want to avoid those oils because they're highly inflammatory. Now, avocados do have a good amount of fat. They have a good amount of fiber. They have some carbohydrate, but they're a really good fat vegetable. and also a good fat oil that you can use in your cooking. But avocados will not cause you to gain weight. MCT oil is a pure fat, will not trigger insulin. In fact, it converts to ketones very, very efficiently. All right, let's move to the next section of this list. There is one carbohydrate that has zero effect on insulin, okay? That is fiber. So when we take the total carb and we minus the fiber, we get our net carbs. And that's what we're looking at when we're calculating this plan. We want something to be very, very low net carb. So this next list are all carbohydrates that have very low amounts of carbs and a good amount of fiber. So when we deduct that, we come out with a very, very small amount of carbohydrates. So olives, less than 1 gram of carbohydrate, insignificant. Spinach, 1.4 grams net carb. Now, this is all just 1 cup as we go down the list, okay? 1 cup of mushroom, that's 1 gram net carb. Sprouts, 1 cup, 1 gram net carb. Celery, this is 1 stalk, not a cup. It's less than 1 gram, it's 0.9 grams net carb. Cucumber, 1 cup, 2.5 grams. Arugula, 1 cup, 0.36 grams net carb. That's like 1/3 of a cup. Arugula is a great vegetable. It's cruciferous and it's very, very low in carb. It'll help you lose weight. Lettuce, 1 cup, 0.6 grams net carb, okay? This is why I recommend, 7 to 10 cups of vegetables, because the carbs are so low, you don't have to count the carbs as any calculation of your keto plan, and very high in fiber with a lot of potassium. Bok choy, 1 cup, 2.4 grams net carb, a very small amount. Watercress, 1 cup, 0.3 grams net carb. Out of all the leafy greens, I think watercress are the least amount of net carbs. Okay, asparagus, 1 cup, 2.3 grams net carb. 1 large pickle, 0.5 grams net carb. It's like a half a gram, insignificant. Zucchini, 1 cup, 2.3 grams net carb. Cauliflower, 1 cup, 3.1 grams of net carb. Now, if you're on the ketogenic plan, you're allowed, up to 50 grams of carbs, okay, per day. So we're talking about 1 or 2, maybe potentially 3 grams of carb. It's insignificant. All right, let's talk about cheese. 1 ounce of Gouda cheese, less than 1 gram of net carb. Blue cheese, 0.7 grams net carb. Cream cheese, 0.1 gram net carb, insignificant. Parmesan cheese, 0.7 grams net carb. And brie cheese, 0.7 gram of net carb, insignificant. All right, here's some other ideas. You can do a cheese wrap, and you can make your sandwiches with your meat and your lettuce, and just wrap it with cheese. And these cheese wraps that you can get at the store now, it's like 1 gram of net carb, so insignificant. Then you have konjac noodles. 1 bag is 1 gram. You can cook with this as your pasta noodle. It's not too bad, but there's insignificant amount of carbohydrates compared to pasta, which is off the charts. All right, and then we have slim rice, which looks like rice, and it's from the konjac plant, and you can put some vegetables in it. You should definitely try that one. It's pretty cool. Another thing I want to mention with bread, there's so many people that just cannot give up bread. And so there's a great recipe. It's simple. It's called cloud bread, 0 carbohydrate, okay? You just mix eggs, cream cheese, and cream of tartar. I'll put the recipe down below. It makes bread. I mean, it looks like bread. It tastes like bread. You can put stuff in it. It's quite amazing. And then we have Knox Jello, okay? Great for kids. You can maybe put some stevia that has different flavors. They have lemon and raspberry and strawberry, different flavors. You can check that out. But that has 0 grams of carbohydrate. So this is your list. If you wanted to lose weight and you wanted to keep it really simple, just type out this list and you're going to lose a ton of weight. But sooner or later, you're going to want the details of exactly how to do healthy keto and intermittent fasting. And for that, check out my playlist right here.